What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay here with For Your Future. And on today's episode, we are talking all about working from home and how to separate the two. So I called up my friends over at the Muse to get us some tips. Let's check it out.
I feel like you are the perfect person to come to when talking about, what does one do when they've just graduated? So give me a little background info.
Yeah, so I am founder and CEO of a company called the Muse, which I started about 8.5, almost 9 years ago, which is crazy. It feels like forever and also yesterday. And the mission, the goal of the company was to help people navigate their careers and to help people find that kind of best fit job, company, and career. Because, I think that we spend so many hours of our days at our jobs and with our colleagues and working. And most of us want to do something that matters. We want to do something that we're good at, that we enjoy. And I was so frustrated when I was younger. I worked in consulting. I worked in global health. I did a couple of different careers before landing on this one. But I was so frustrated that most traditional job boards would just give you this laundry list of jobs.
Well, speaking of career, I'm assuming you've been working from home, right?
Yes, I definitely have been since about March 9th or 10th.
So tell me, how's that been?
Yeah, initially, honestly, it was incredibly hard. I love people. I love my team. The first 2 months working from home felt like torture because I live alone, right? So I'm just trapped in this tiny 1-bedroom apartment in the East Village with, no pets, no social contact. And it was incredibly challenging and dark at times, but it also forced me to go inwards a little bit and say, okay, what, I had to sort of relearn how to fully enjoy my own company. And that's, by the way, it's like, I can enjoy my own company on a lazy Sunday, but during a global pandemic, that's next level.
Yeah.
So, I had to develop some work from home routines. I started trying to go outside at the end of every single day, just for 10 minutes to get a little bit of sun. This one's silly, but I don't even have a desk in my apartment. I have a dining room table. So I made one seat on the dining room table, my work seat, and another seat was my dinner seat / fun seat. That was actually really important, just even having that small bit of separation.
I have to tell you, that is not weird to say that you've turned your dining room table into a desk because, girl, literally before this pandemic, this is my workspace real quick.
Nice. I love it.
My workspace, which is also my bedroom. So we New Yorkers, we have to make the most of the space that we have, which we all know isn't always a lot. So what are maybe some tips for folks who are spending a good chunk of their time at home?
Yeah. So a couple things, and some of these are pretty straightforward, but I promise you it does make a difference. First of all, really separating out home time and work time. And as we were just talking about, this can be hard when you're in a small space with other people, but the more you can really help your brain draw that distinction, the better. So what does that look like? It means get dressed in the morning, have, a Zoom shirt or, a workout. But even if it's obviously more comfortable, I'm not saying you have to look formal. I certainly don't, but it's different. It marks the passage of time. Secondly, designate a workspace. We were talking about that before, but again, it doesn't have to be a separate room. It can be a corner, a specific seat, and do your best not to sit in that seat unless you're doing work. It is amazing how much our brains are wired to pick up on these tiny little cues. Oh, this is my work seat. This is not my work seat. So whatever it is for you, defining and defending that space. Another one, which I mentioned before, but get a comfortable chair. It really does make a difference, not just while you're sitting, but your entire posture and physical health, because we're spending so much time, at homes on Zoom. I would say then also, if you can, I love recommending to people when you are working from home to plan one fun thing every day after work. And it can be small. It can be, I'm going to play my daughter's favorite game with her. I'm going to take the dog for a walk. I'm going to snuggle with my kitten. I'm going to cook that meal. I'm going to watch an episode of TV. It doesn't have to be big, but having something that sort of defines the end of the workday is important. And then, and this is hard for me because I'm an always on person, but I try not to go back to work just out of laziness. I might go sit in my work seat and do some more work if I've decided to do so. But really driving your work and not letting your work drive you is even more important when we're all living in the same spaces.
Those are so good. And even as you're saying them, I'm like doing a mental check. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've been making sure that I don't sit in the seat when the workday's done. Like sometimes I'll catch myself slipping and I'm like watching TV from this chair and I'm like, what am I doing? Move, Kay, move. All right. So let's say it is time to go back to work, right? And we've started to notice for a lot of folks with the different phases here in New York that that's become a reality. But what if you want to keep your work from home setup going? How do we balance the two? Is that something we should even be trying to do? Should we keep that separation of work from home or work and home? What do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, I absolutely believe that for many people, integrating more work from home into their future going forward is a positive thing. So I think first, step one is be honest with yourself about what you want, what you need, and where you're going to do your best. If you do decide that you want more flexibility post-COVID, there's a couple things I would recommend. One is track your progress. So to some extent, for better or for worse, your boss may think of this current time as an audition for your ability to work remotely. Now, if you're the caretaker for young children and therefore that's affecting, it doesn't mean that necessarily this is the way that working remotely will always be. But keep in mind, if you are going to approach your boss and ask to work remotely in the future, you may want to bring a list of wins. So projects you've accomplished or teams you've led or things you've done while you were working remotely. You may want to say, now that I'll have childcare or when my kids go back to school or whatever the situation is, I will be able to free up more time. You can talk about the time that you're not commuting and how you've been able to use that to be a better employee. And then I would also say pick a good time to raise the issue. So for example, a great time would be right after you've just done something very successful, you've kicked off a big initiative, when your boss is most likely to be open to a request. Don't pick a time when people are incredibly stressed, when there's a million things going on, because you run into the risk of having a manager just feel like, I can't deal with this right now and shut it down without seriously considering your request.
Yeah. Read the room or read the Slack room.
Yes. Read the room. And by the way, I would also say consider a compromise or a trial period. I think that, there are going to be some companies and offices where they don't necessarily want people to be remote forever, but they may be willing to let you do either a month or two and see how it goes, or 2 to 3 days a week and see how it goes. So it's also possible, if you get some resistance, that you could propose something that gives you some flexibility.
I love it. So you started talking about the future of work. I'm curious. I would love if you could expand upon that, because obviously as we move forward in this, economy and in this space of work from home / some people are going back, what does that look like? Tell us a little bit more about what the future of work is looking like.
I think we are living in such an interesting time right now when really the social contract between individuals and the companies they work for is being renegotiated. And some of this was happening pre-COVID and has just been accelerated. And there are other things that I think are going to be new going forward. So we could talk about this for hours, but I'll just give you a couple of quick themes. One, big surprise here, but the rise of distributed work. Companies have been saying for a long time, many companies have been saying, we can't have remote employees, it doesn't work, but suddenly we've all been forced to try it. And I do think there are companies that are going to recognize they just work better in person and they're going to go back to that when it's safe to do so. But other businesses are figuring out that they don't need an office, or that some sort of hybrid approach is relevant. All of us who run businesses or who manage teams are figuring out, how do we give people more flexibility, more distributed work, and do we want to go all the way or do we want to do a blend? So that's, I think, one thread. The second thread, which is something I'm also really passionate about, is I think we're seeing a return of humanity to the workplace. And what do I mean by that? If you go back to let's say the factory era, the Industrial Revolution, humans were cogs, right? People were resources. They were treated as indistinguishable. And slowly over the last few years and last few decades to some extent, we've been reversing that trend and starting to put more of this idea that we are humans, complex people with relationships and lives and hopes and dreams and identities that are multi-layered. And when we run companies that allow people to show up as their whole selves, we run better companies. And I think COVID has really accelerated this because, we're all talking to each other from our living rooms. We have pets and parents and people popping in and out. And I think that also employees remember how their companies treated them during this time.